Peace, this is Abdullah Powell here, and today I want to show you how to find drum samples from oldies records. It's pretty straightforward. It's really important that you have your own drum sounds in your library of sounds, and you can do that by going through oldies records and looking for snares, kicks, hi-hats, and loops. So I've got a break record from DeMilo. He donated it to Elements, so shout out to him, and we're going to go ahead and get into learning how to chop up loops from breakbeats and from oldies records. I'm looking for something that has a little bit less instrumentation. I just want drums. Not horns, not guitar, just drums. Sometimes in the beginning of the song or at the bridge section of the song or even at the end of the song you'll hear the drummer have a solo part, but not on that song. Alright, here's another one. I was able to find this drum loop on this track. This is going to occur later on in the bridge section of the song. Now that right there sounds like something we can sample. So let's record that. All right, so we are in the program called Reason, and I'm going to use this to record our samples and also to chop up the individual drum sounds that we sample. We're going to need to make an audio track first and foremost. And from there, we're going to need to record the right input. Go to where it says input, and I'm going to click input 3. Oh, yeah. You gotta get up, baby. All right, that looks good. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is name our track. This song is called Devil with a Bust. So we're going to name the track Devil with a Bust. It's going to make it easier for us to organize our samples in a folder later. You'll see. All right, the next thing we're going to do is turn loop off. And I'm going to make the track really big so that we can see all our transients very, very easy. And we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to turn click off as well. All right, let's go ahead and get our needle on the record close to where we need to be. Alright, that's all we needed right there. So let's get into chopping this up. So I'm looking for a couple loops and individual drum shots. Kick drum, snare drum, possibly some hi-hats. So let's listen to it. We're also going to look for a loop. We're going to look for a pattern of 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the easiest way to sample a loop. So let's go ahead and turn snap off so I can move freely. Let's just listen for the loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. All right, and I'm going to get away from this part where they're singing and focus on this area here where there's just drums. So let's go ahead and so I'm going to start counting after we get after the singing part. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. cutting at the beginning of that pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right there. I really like this loop particularly because there's no harmonica. I kind of hear a harmonica here still playing in the background. That one right there sounds particularly good to me though. Alright, let's focus on this right now. So I feel like this is good to go as it is. I'm gonna put a loop around it so we can hear it as a loop. Let's turn loop on. All right. So it loops pretty well. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit more to make sure I'm pretty accurate on where I'm cutting in front of the kick transient. And I think I'm pretty accurate there. All right, and then on the snare, I mean at the end of the 1, 2, 3, 4, I want to make sure I'm pretty accurate there as well. So I'm gonna cut it back a little bit. Okay. Now I'm gonna make a loop around that. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that seems like that's pretty perfect. So next step I'm going to do is export it. So the way we do that in Reason is we have to bounce it to a new sample. Okay, and so once you do that, it shows up in a folder in Reason called Devil with the Bus and all self-contained samples. So there's another step that you need to go through to make sure that you will be able to use these samples outside of this particular session in Reason. So once you have it here, you need to right click it and go to Export Samples. All right. So from here on the documents, I'm in the documents area of my computer. I'm going to make a folder, and I'm going to call the folder Samples. And inside of that folder, I'm going to make another folder that's called Drum Samples. And it's 2020, so I'm going to even label it 2020. Now this is me just being very organized. I like to keep all of my drums in their own folders, and sometimes, you know, as the years go on, I might have, you know, lots of drums being sampled, so I want to be able to find them in some kind of arrangement. So now I'm going to name this sample Devil with the Bus Drum Loop. All right. So now we have one loop. From there, I'm going to start dissecting this sample into smaller pieces. So first I see first thing you have is a kick. That kick has a lot of sound around it. Like the harmonicas in the background of it. After the kick you have this open hi-hat. Then after that you have a snare, which has a kind of guitar on it as well. Then you have hi-hats. I'm going to go for this part of the hi-hat where there's not much sound behind it. And then I'm going to click at the end of the hi-hats here. Listen to them as a loop. Okay. So with this, we should be able to use this as a loop. We've got a kick, open hi-hat, hi-hats. Now we need a snare. I like to look for a snare that doesn't have any other sounds with it. Let's try this. That's pretty good. Let's cut it. I'm going to let you hear it as a loop. Alright, so that sounds pretty good. Now we've got a kick right here that I also want to sample. Let's hear that as a loop. Alright, so we're going to take all of these pieces and individually bounce them. I'm going to start with this open hi-hat, So there with a bust, open, HH for hi-hat. It's 1. Then we've got this. I'm gonna skip this snare and use these hi-hats. Okay, so we're gonna bounce that as it's gonna come here. Then we're gonna export that and name it double with a bus hi-hat loop. All right. Then we're gonna go here and we're gonna take this kick. We'll go ahead and take it. With a bus kick. Then we have a snare right here. Export it as double with a bust snare. Alright, and then this is another kick with hi-hat behind it. We'll go ahead and take that too. I want to name that double with a bust kick 2, just so I have a different name than the first one. Okay, so really that's all I think I need from this particular pattern, or I'm sorry, from this particular sample. We'll take this loop as well, and that'll conclude everything. Let's go ahead and go to that. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'll cut it here. So let's listen to that. Cool. Let's bounce that. This is just going to be double with the bus loop 2. Okay, and so let me show you the folder that we created so you can see what happens. So on our computer, if we go to Documents, and if we go to Samples, and then we go to Drum Samples 2020, we'll see all of our individual sounds here. Everything that we wanted to sample should be found in here. Alright, so that's it for today. Look for a follow-up video where I make a full instrumental using those drum samples and loops. Alright, catch y'all next time. Peace.